Good morning everybody and welcome to this week's edition of the RDA Central West Business Leaders Breakfast. I'm really glad you're able to join us. This morning joining me in the hot seat we have Toby Mendl, the Regional Manager of Rabobank Central New South Wales. Toby, welcome to breakfast.
Thanks Sam, thanks for having me.
Now fantastic you're able to join us this morning, and it's great that we've got such a good following as we continue to progress with the Business Leaders Breakfast. But Toby, for those that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your current role with Rabobank but also your journey to the Central West?
Sure. So my current role in Rabobank is the Regional Manager of Central New South Wales. So going back a step, I suppose Rabobank is an agri-specialist bank, so all of our clients are farmers or from the food and agribusiness space. It's a little bit of a unique business structure in that it's a co-op, so it was founded in Europe by a group of farmers when they found out that there was farmers who were struggling to have access to capital, so they created a co-op to provide capital to within their own industry. So it's got a great sort of base from a value perspective, and on the back of that in Australia all we do is bank agriculture. So as far as my role sits, it's so based here in Orange locally, looks after Central New South Wales, which covers 6 branches through the state. Which is heading from north to south. We've got Tamworth, Dubbo, Orange, Forbes, Goulburn and Sydney. And at the extremities of those regions then, say Goulburn goes down to the Victorian border in the Bega Valley, Dubbo goes west to Walgett and beyond, and Tamworth sort of goes north to Barrow. So yeah, it's a good spread, nice mix of different commodities and different sort of geographic spread, so which helps particularly in agriculture.
Yeah, I bet. So a massive footprint and a big space to cover. Now I believe you've been in agribusiness lending for about 18 years.
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers this morning what kind of trends or changes have you seen in agribusiness lending over that period?
Yeah, sure. It's the fundamentals of agribusiness lending are largely unchanged, which is interesting. It's it's all about like all lending, the sustainable cash flow of a business, so that'll drive the ability of the business to borrow money. So the fundamentals of the way that we assess those businesses and look to provide them with their financial requirements are largely unchanged. What has changed is the interest rate environment. I think if you asked economists, however long ago, 5-10 years ago, that we get to this sort of base level of rates, I don't think anyone really saw that coming. So that creates opportunity and challenges, but largely offset by the reason we have low rates is because there's concerns around the economy. So or one of the reasons, example. So so that's sort of the main change over the last 18 years. But the way we look at a transaction and the way we look to finance our clients is largely unchanged, which is nice. And
you're in agribusiness lending, as we said, so you must have a passion for agriculture to be in that field. Where does your passion for agriculture come from? And I guess, two-pronged question, what excites you about the future of agriculture in the Central West?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sam. My passion for ag, I grew up in a small place down in Crookle, so mum and dad are still down there. And just, in school holidays I had to just working in the local properties and seeing the work ethic and I suppose the core values of the agricultural industry and the people that work within it drove that passion. And then on the back of that, I suppose the opportunities that I foresaw within that industry, which also remain today. And funnily enough, whilst it's a two-pronged question, the answer is exactly the same. I think what excites me about agriculture today is also the people within it and the opportunities that ag presents. And it's becoming more widely known and understood that those opportunities are far and wide, not only locally here in the Central West, but nationally and internationally. And it's getting a lot more investment on the back of that. So we've seen a lot of incubators, investment start-up that are really ag focused, so looking at commercialising ag tech.
Yep.
So I think there's...
I know there's a real culture of that developing in the Central West right here.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, we've got the Gate, we've got a lot of Innovate Orange, which is a group that we're involved with here,
yep.
Developing that kind of, that new ideas, that innovation, especially in that ag space.
Absolutely. So Spark Labs have a relationship with the EGO here with DPI, and they do a fantastic job around identifying not only local but national and global opportunities. And there's a number of institutions looking to do that, which I think just shows the fundamentals of the space are quite strong, and everyone's excited and interested to invest and see that to continue to develop and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think ag and related industries is the 4th biggest sector of the Central West economy.
Yep.
So it's been been a key pillar for a long time, and I think it'll continue to be a key pillar going forward. As a trend for farming, I think we've seen over the last few decades that continued need to expand to increase scale. Do you think that will continue, or do you think in our region, especially the Central West, there might be that evolution of more niche agribusiness value-adding opportunities?
Yeah, I think again another beauty of the ag industry is there's space for both. So the trend is absolutely been for, in recent times, consolidation and growth and increase for economies of scale. Because gross margins have been relatively stable, so more scale, higher dollar returns at least. But in saying that, there's always a space for a niche business with the right level of investment and understanding and opportunity. If you look locally, there's plenty of businesses that have gone down that value add chain. If you look at MSM Milling or Pioneer Brewing or any cellar door or winery that are fantastic around here. And even on a more production base, there's lucent farmers who are actually turning into chaff to sell in the produce stores. So I think there's a space for both. It really just depends on where your passion lies and making sure you've got a sound business plan and good advice around you to be successful in either of those arms.
Nice little segue. Good opportunity for a cross promo, because next Friday, Toby's actually going to be one of the keynote speakers at the Back in Business Forum right here in Orange. Got a few tickets left, so make sure you jump on the website or Facebook to grab a ticket if you're interested. And also Pete from Pioneer Brewing, Pete Gerber, he's going to also be one of the case studies on the day. So fantastic opportunity to hear firsthand from a fantastic local business that's doing great things. So there you go.
Yeah.
Make sure you're there next Friday. All the information on the website. Now, going to just change tact and pace a little bit. I'm going to go with the fast five. It's where we get to know a little bit more about you. Best local event or festival in the Central West?
There's so many. I suppose if I had to pick one, it would be either Forage is always a good one, or Comedy in the Vines was also one we went to last year, which was a fantastic day out.
Okay, well we might chuck the link up to Forage because it is one of those major events for the region, and those tickets are pretty sought after.
They are, absolutely.
3 dream dinner guests.
3 dream dinner guests. That's tricky too. I think I'd have to have a chef so I didn't have to cook. So we'd probably have we'd take Mendl off the living room. He's got quite a good sense of humour. I think I quite like my sport, so I'd have lots of options there too. Probably Mick Fanning. There's not too many people that punch the shark, and I think his background and his story and the way that he drove himself to such success is a great story. And thirdly, I think someone like a Michael Parkinson or a Graham Norton, just a chat host who just has an array of stories, and they have plenty of anecdotes from some of their guests that would be interesting to listen to.
Well, I can say with confidence, nobody's ever referenced the living room on the business breakfast, so you've got a first there. Hidden gem of the Central West. So this could be a people, a person, a place, or a venue. So when you've got visitors coming into Orange, something that they might not normally get to, I reckon they need to check out.
That's a good one too. Again, we're sport for choice out here, I think, which is a really nice. So we always struggle to give people one or two. I think for us, with young families, we find, and it's not hidden at all, but Happy Station is great for young kids, where the adults can have a wine and the kids can have a bit of a run around. Equally, the Borinal Caves aren't as well known as the Federal Falls walk or whatever. It's a very gentle walk, but there's something there for the young kids as well. So that's something that we do occasionally with the family. Yeah,
no, look, there are a couple that I've referenced on this a few times previously.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely. Borinal Caves, absolute cracker, and especially when you've got visitors, you go out there and it's much better than you anticipated them being out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Federal Falls as well. That's a bit harder of a walk, but a real top shelf one. Now, who would play you in a movie of your life?
I spoke to my wife about this last night, and there was a few options thrown around, none of them which I think landed all that well. I think in the end I landed on Brian Brown, because he just seems like a good Aussie bloke, and also his story, the way his work ethic, he worked really hard to get, he made all his own luck, and he's got a really strong sense of family. There was an amazing interview and conversations with him, and he's a very interesting bloke, so he made all his own luck, and I think he'd be a good actor.
No, he's been in some good movies, that's for sure. Now, one thing that businesses have relied on probably more than ever this year has been support and advice. Can you give our viewers this morning and those listeners on the podcast some advice that you've received from a previous mentor that stayed with you in your professional journey?
Yeah, absolutely. There's probably two pieces of advice that I reflect back on fairly regularly. One is which can be tough to do, but embrace change. A lot of the time, change is outside of our control, and it can have a material impact on what your initial plan was or where you think you were heading. But it also provides opportunity. So whilst it might make you nervous, that those nerves can be a good sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, and it builds from that. The second piece of advice I think that I rely on a lot is it's all about decision making. It's I think personally can get caught up on making a decision, and the advice was just make it. There's no right or wrong decisions. You make a decision based on the information you've got to hand. If you don't like the outcome of that, then you're at another fork in the road, you make another decision. So they're probably the two pieces of advice that I reflect back on fairly regularly.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's kind of like he who hesitates is lost. So just pull the trigger, make the decision. Yeah. That's a good one. But also the adaptation, needing to adapt for change. I think businesses, especially in our region over the last 12 months, have been forced to.
Absolutely.
And I think some of the legacies of COVID will be real positive changes for a lot of businesses that will hopefully hold them in good stead going forward. Now, previously to working for Rabobank, a lot of the viewers might not know, and it was an interesting thing I learned doing my research, is that you spent 3 years working in London in the banking game over there. Must have been vastly different.
Yep.
But what were some of the learnings during that period of your career that have held you in good stead? Wrong.
It's a good question too, Sam. There's
I didn't tell you it was going to be easy.
That's right. Look, I loved my time in London. There were some learnings. It was the first learning was a perspective position and just to enjoy life. We arrived only a month or two after the tube bombings, so it was a bit of a tense environment. And I didn't get the first sort of couple of jobs I wanted to get, so it was sort of, well, we're over here, let's still do what we need to do and have a good time, which we did. More directly on the work front, what I learned, I shifted into more of a back office reporting type role over there, which gave me a lot of skills, but what it did really shine out was my passion to get back into the front office and dealing with people and building those relationships and being involved in the business development type of any business. So, but it was a great opportunity, and I really had a good time there. It was excellent.
Yeah, look, and I guess one of the other things that I just wanted to touch on this morning was we've talked a bit about COVID, and we've talked how it's changed business practices. Has it changed how Rabobank has operated during that period, but has it also changed the type of advice businesses are seeking from you during that period?
Yeah, absolutely. It's if I address the way that we operate first, it absolutely did. So, like all businesses, the health and safety of our staff and our clients was sort of put at the forefront of our operations. So, on the back of that, we basically picked up all our staff. So there's 50 staff within my region, and effectively within a week we picked them all up and everyone worked from home. And interestingly, productivity improved initially, so we thought there was going to be a bit of a hit in the way that, just the ways of working, but it just didn't play out like that. So so that was a change. We had to change in the way that we delivered our information to clients. So, we were always, a key part of our business model is being out on farm and sitting around a kitchen table and having that sort of in-depth conversation on their place, not bringing them into the office. So clearly they had to adjust. So that moved to a more virtual environment, which, people say the agricultural industry can be slow adapters in that world, but back to our other point around ag tech and, our clients really embraced that. So understanding that, health and safety first, and we didn't want to put them at risk. So that evolved. And then the final thing that evolved also is the way that we delivered so we do events and functions, and so obviously all those we can. So we've done over 20 or 25 virtual events, and really increased, pretty similar to this forum, we do at least 2 podcasts a week that's sort of commodity specific. So trying to find other distribution channels to still provide the information that our clients are after.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the legacy items from this period, is that people pivoting and offer new offerings like this that you realise can actually give you that access to different pathways that will stay on beyond as we get back to the new normal, as they call it.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, we've had a tough start to the year. We had the ongoing impacts of the drought, and then we had the bushfires but in recent months we've had some good rains. How has that changed the mindset of your clients, and has that changed again the type of advice that they've sought, or has it thrown up some new challenges that you wouldn't have forecast for their operations?
Yeah, exponentially has changed the mindset. Farmers are stoic and some of the most resilient people you could ever hope to work with, which is a fantastic attribute. But we have had 2 or 3 years of really tough seasons, particularly through in the Western District. So it's hard to maintain that level of positivity when you've had that track record. So the rain. By March this year, plenty of our area had more rain in the first 3 months this year than they had in the full 12 or 15 months before that. So with that comes sentiment. We have a confidence survey we do once a quarter, and you can just see on the back of that rain that the confidence really started to skyrocket. And as that rain has developed, we're sort of harvesting now, and the results are really good. So it's made a massive difference. Rain, it's all about the rain in our business. And as far as challenges, absolutely. I mean, it's positive challenges compared to the alternative, but the main challenge we had really was at the moment is we're on the graziers and the restocking opportunities. So trying to get the balance of how they restock and what time frames, given that the prices are quite high at the moment, because all the restockers are looking to do it at once.
I did. I had a look at the commodity snapshots, and I didn't realise the Eastern Young Cattle Indicator for all those Toby units, kind of your staple for the cattle prices. It was like 800 cents or something.
Yeah, that's right.
2 years ago, I think it was like 600 cents, and they said that was an all-time record, and they couldn't believe it was that high. So
yeah, that's right. So farmers are sort of looking at getting the balance of organic growth or buying at store sale, or looking at whether they lease some of their country, just trying to get back on track. But that is a challenge.
Yeah, and just as a little side note, we went out and we had a meeting out at Condo a couple of months ago, and the ag station out there said last year they had 146 mil, and at the same time when we were out there in August, I think they had 540 mil for the year.
Yeah, that's right.
Speaks volumes to the change that can happen with a bit of water.
It certainly does.
Now, how do international influences impact the commodity prices that our farmers here will garner, and how do domestic factors in Australia, what kind of impact does that have on the global price?
Yeah, global factors have a massive impact on us. We export about 65% of our total ag produce, so what is happening globally, and it's different per each commodity, but the global supply and demand factors do have an impact on local prices. So we're always watching that fairly carefully, and if you look at specific events over the last sort of 12 or 18 months, the coronavirus is an obvious one. So food service across the globe, really dipped to less than 50% of what it had been year on year, which then impacts our premium protein, so lamb and beef, and the demand for that. There was African swine flu in China, which meant that their pork production dropped, I think, over 14 million tonnes. Australia's total protein production across every protein type is 4.5 million tonnes. So that provided an opportunity. So there's a lot of substitutes that were going into China from beef and chicken and all that sort of stuff. So the global dynamics do play a material part in what the prices we receive locally. And China's a whole different ballgame with what's going on over there at the moment, and a bit of uncertainty around the politics side of international relations. So it's challenging.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, it's been fantastic to learn a lot more about your journey, Toby, this morning, and getting some insights into those commodity prices and what makes them kind of formulate. But one of the things that I was interested to find out is you yourself made the move from banking in Sydney into a regional setting. Mm-hmm. What was one of the catalysts for you to make that decision? And for anyone that might be tuning in who might have friends or family that might be thinking to make the move, because post-COVID a lot of people are recalibrating their expectations.
Absolutely.
What advice would you have for anyone in that position?
So my wife and I both grew up in my wife Victoria grew up in Maureen, I grew up in Cookle, as I said earlier. So we always had a bit of a link to the country that we thought once we were having kids we'd like to move back to the bush. We moved when our son was 4 weeks old. So that was the catalyst for us, but we had a bit of an understanding of regional Australia before that, so it probably wasn't as large a step as it may be for some. In saying that, we've had lots of mates who, you know, are metro born and bred, who have made the leap and have never looked back. So not just here, but up the North Coast and what have you. So my advice would be just to come out and have a look, and then take the leap of faith that you won't regret it. You know, the opportunities here, particularly in the Central West, across multiple business streams. Before I moved back to agriculture, I was working in a local business bank here, and there's plenty of really strong service-based businesses and manufacturing-based businesses. There's just lots of opportunity in the Central West, no matter which stream you're in. It's just coming out and having a look and trying to identify where your place might be and take the leap. You won't regret it. The lifestyle and the balance is fantastic.
Yeah, well, look, we almost need to just cut that and use it as a promo video for the Central West, but completely agree. Now, looking into the crystal ball, how do you see the agricultural sector going in the Central West over the next, say, 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, look, we're really positive on ag. I think it's all, as I said earlier, it's all season driven, so there's a little bit of unknown on that, albeit the La Nina is expected to retain, so we're looking for a wetter than average summer, which sets us up for a good season next year. But the fundamentals remain strong, as I said earlier. The interest rate environment is low, the asset value, so we continue to see strong capital appreciation in farmland and a lot of demand for that from both at a local producer level and investment level. And commodity prices are strong and underpinned by the quality of our food and fibre that we produce locally, underpinned by our reputation internationally, and just the quality of our producers. So we think there's plenty of opportunity in agriculture, and we see it remaining strong for a long while. As I said, it's all we do, so it's we're heavily invested in it, and we see there's plenty of opportunity in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, look, I share your confidence. I think the future is very bright after a challenging couple of years, but as you said, I think the fundamentals, especially for that sector, are very strong in our region, and I think it'll continue to go like that.
Absolutely.
Now, if viewers are keen to learn more about you, your role at Rabobank and the services that Rabobank provide, what's the easiest way for them to engage with you and your team?
Yep, just drop me an email directly, probably the easiest, Sam. So that's Toby, Toby.Mendl, Mendl@rabobank.com.
Easy. We'll put up Toby's details after this morning's chat. We'll also put the website links up for Rabobank and your social media handles for all of those viewers that are keen to learn a little bit more. But Toby, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Pleasure.
Fantastic to learn a little bit more about you and your role at Rabobank, and also to cover off on such things as the living room. But make sure you, as I said, Toby's going to be giving us a little bit more information and covering some of these topics next Friday at the Backing Business Forum here in Orange, so make sure you don't miss out on that opportunity. But until next time, have a great day, a fantastic weekend, and thanks for joining us on the Business Leaders Breakfast.